আপনাদের ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি আসার জন্য এবং আমি এখানে প্রেসিডিয়াতে আসন গ্রহণ করার জন্য অনুরোধ করছি ডক্টর মান্নান মৃধাকে। গুণনা নিলেন এবং ডক্টর সাইফুল ইসলাম। আমাদের অনুষ্ঠানের প্রথম পর্বতে আমরা এই পৃথিবীর পানি ওয়াটার সিচুয়েশন, পানির বিভিন্ন সমস্যা আছে, এই পানি সমস্যা নিয়ে আমাদেরকে ওনারা কিছু বলবেন। আমি মাইক্রোফোন তুলে দিচ্ছি ডক্টর মান্নান আঙ্কেলকে।
Assalamu alaikum. I see one person who doesn't speak Bengali. How do you manage that? Mr. Guna.
Yes, okay with him. Okay, yes.
It's a great pleasure to see you all, and I am on behalf of School of Technology and Health, KTH, Royal Institute of Technology, have the pleasure to welcome you all. It's especially a great pleasure for me to invite Professor Saiful Islam from Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib Medical University and Professor Hussain, an eminent scientist on water problems. And I will tell you a little about how we are working on healthcare technology. And biomedical engineering is about diagnostic technology development, therapeutic technology, and in 1986 I was in Bangladesh on a World Health Organization project, and I was inspired by a professor named Dr. Ibrahim. He suggested me that you don't need much technology for Bangladesh. If you want to help Bangladesh, then solve the water problems. Half of the diseases of Bangladesh will be eliminated if you can give clean water. And that's how my research on preventive healthcare technology started. And today we have a very eminent professor, doctor, dean of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib Medical University, and it will be an excellent opportunity for us to know a little about the diseases about in Bangladesh due to water problems. And my colleague, engineer Gunnar Nilen, has visited Bangladesh several times, and he will share with you some of this small-scale work that we are doing in Bangladesh to clean water using the solar energy we have, to take small steps to collect rainwater. And as we have seen some of the films here, this is a global gigantic problem. Some sources say 25,000 children are dying every day due to water problem disease. Some say clean water can save 1 million children below 5 per year. Some sources say 1.1 billion, that is every 6-7 persons that have clean water. So this is a gigantic problem, but I think we cannot only discuss problems, we need to do something, whatever we can. And I think my colleague will show you some of the small steps that we are taking. So I will let Professor Islam to tell us about the magnitude of the problem and how this is affecting people in Bangladesh. The story from the horse's mouth, the doctor who is treating the patients, and he will give us the idea about this problem's magnitude. And I also thank the organizers who have taken keen initiative to enlighten the people about these water problems. And it will be an excellent beginning, I think, to this voice for justice. And I mean, it doesn't help we shout here against India. It doesn't help, because nobody is going to fight for Bangladesh against India. We have to join this kind of forces and see what we can do, okay? Anyway, so I invite my friend Saiful Islam to tell us about the diseases.
Thank you, sir. Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very great pleasure to be here this afternoon, and I'm very proud to see a very active and vibrant Bengali community here at Stockholm this afternoon. I'm really very, very proud of you all. I was here basically on a very small business trip to Stockholm. We came to Paris in a conference, but it's a real great opportunity to be here talking to you a problem that we are facing in Bangladesh. You all know that life millions of years ago began in water. There can be no life without water. But water, once contaminated, can unfortunately also damage life, and it can also result in death. People in Bangladesh for long has been acquainted with various waterborne diseases, and they have killed many at all ages of their lifespan. But today we are threatened with something which seems to be a great tragedy coming up for the whole nation. Can we go back? So I have named today's presentation as Water Health in Bangladesh, from the frying pan into the fire. I'll just in brief discuss how we are in the fire from the frying pan. You know, arsenicosis, as it is called, the chronic poisoning due to contamination of water by arsenic, is considered to be the biggest mass poisoning in the world's history. You know, we are a very poor nation. We have many problems to manage, but this new problem looks to be absolutely horrible for us. Let's look how it began. I think many of you who are here were in the 70s in Bangladesh, and you watched many children and adults die of diarrheal diseases due to water pollution. There were major problems caused by bacterial contamination of water. And people were looking for an alternative source of water or safe drinking water from the surface sources. But today, we see that about 30 million people in 61 of the 64 districts of the country have become threatened with arsenic poisoning. And in 18 of the districts, the arsenic in water or drinking water far exceeds that of the recommended dose by the World Health Organizations. In 18 districts, it is more than 50 microgram per liter. and the recommended dose by the WHO is 10 microgram. Now, in this slide, you can see the places that are mostly affected by arsenic contamination in the groundwater in Bangladesh. You know, in the 70s, in order to solve the diarrheal diseases by providing the people with safe drinking water, the UNICEF undertook a project by sinking more than 8 to 12 billion tube wells in the various parts of the country. And these tube wells also lifted bacteria-free water for the people to drink. But in course of time, it was found that many of them, as I have already told you earlier, were contaminated with arsenic. How did this take place actually? You know, arsenic is a normal constituent of the soil in Bangladesh and also elsewhere in the world. But mostly this remains in the soil as an insoluble form. Now this has to become solubilized before it gets into the water. And how this has occurred is very, very curious, and people are not very sure how this has really occurred. But there are many speculations. One of them is that, go back to the other slide, the process may be triggered by some bacteria which are actually reduce iron in the sediments. Sediments means in the soil. And if they reduce iron in the soil, there are chances that the oxygen is getting in close contact with arsenic, and the insoluble forms of arsenic become solubilized and they trickle down into the water, groundwater. And the next thought about the contamination is, go to the next slide. No, forward. Forward. That this might be linked to the Green Revolution that has been considered to be a very, very successful event in the post-liberation period of Bangladesh. Many of you must be knowing that we have solved to some extent, or we have become somewhat self-sufficient in our food. And this has been due to our Green Revolution, using a lot of fertilizers, pesticides, and insecticides. Many blame that many of the fertilizers, pesticides, and these insecticides being of very poor quality have contaminated the soil in Bangladesh with arsenic. The other thought is that withdrawal of large quantities of water as for irrigation and also for drinking purposes reduced the water content of the water, and that allowed oxygen to come in close contact with the insoluble form of arsenic and make it solubilized, that really passed on to the groundwater. Whatever is the cause, it is now a reality that more than 30 million people in Bangladesh are threatened to have health problems that are long-standing or lifelong standing caused by arsenic poisoning. You can see there's health problems related to the arsenic can be gangrenes of the limb. That means your limbs suffering from lack of blood supply, they die out. You can see on the right of the slide. Then you can see that keratosis of the palm and the sole. That means your sole and the palm becomes extremely hard, hornified. It becomes horny, you know. And then cancers come up late in the course of arsenic poisoning. And all of them continue to be a lifelong problem once somebody is afflicted with it. As many as 3,000 deaths per year can be due to arsenic poisoning. 600,000 cases of keratosis, or what we have said, horny palm and the soles. 125,000 cases of skin cancer. There will be 10-fold increase in deaths over the Chernobyl disaster, about which all of you are perhaps aware. And besides the skin cancer, the kidney, lung, liver, and the urinary bladder cancer may rise to an extent of 10%. So this really constitutes a new healthcare malady in Bangladesh. The Bangladesh healthcare area has got many successes. When I began my medical career as a student, the lifespan of an average Bangladeshi was only 47 years. Now, because of very, very successful primary health care, particularly immunization of children and control of infectious diseases, now the average Bangladeshi has a lifespan of as many as 72 years. But you know, many of these successes are now being upset by the newer or upcoming healthcare problems that are more chronic and continuing, like the cardiovascular diseases, like the cancer, like asthma, diabetes, hypertension, and so forth. But what you cannot live with is water, and what you are threatened with is the risk of arsenic poisoning for 30 million people in Bangladesh. Go back to this last slide. Now, what to do with these people? We have to provide everybody in the country with safe drinking water. That is one of the prime tasks that we need to do. The other task is that we need to help those people who are already afflicted with arsenic poisoning. The measures can be, as you know, short-term measures. The measures can be intermediate, and the measures need to be also on the long terms. People talk of mitigation of the arsenic problem. It's sometimes very easy to say, but it's difficult to achieve. People advise them to avoid arsenic contaminated water. But in many parts of Bangladesh, the people have to go, miles after miles to have safe drinking water. And as you may be knowing about the Ayla and the Sido that hit the coastal belts of Bangladesh a few years back, people there have to now go as long as 10 kilometers to have their drinking water. So drinking water is not a near-found thing in many places in Bangladesh. So it's very easy to say that ask them to avoid arsenic-contaminated water, but where do they get it from? I'm sure Manan Rida and Dr. Gunnar is going to tell you how we are trying to mitigate these problems. But once again, if we are finding safe drinking water that is arsenic-free, that's not all. Because arsenic has now found its way into the food chain. Many of our food grains that are grown in the arsenic-threatened areas also contain, threatening levels of arsenic. So even if you are not drinking arsenic-contaminated water, your food may become poisoned with arsenic. Then the second option is removal of arsenic from the water that is already contaminated and make it drinkable. Many simple, low-cost technologies are coming up. The problem, then again, is with what you do with the arsenic that you separate from the water. How do you dispose that arsenic? Because that also threatens to contaminate other places. And we never know where through, again, it finds a place in our body. Now you can see, go back to this previous slide, still previous. No, next one. Next one. No, before that. Just before that. Keep it here. Then the third option is also moving towards ecological agriculture. Ecological agriculture means avoiding the artificial fertilizers, insecticides, and the pesticides. But you must be knowing that agriculture now in Bangladesh is again has become an industry. It is no more a domestic activity like it used to be in the 60s or before. Now, having new technologies for this ecological agriculture is also very difficult, and you need to be very, very innovative. Ladies and gentlemen, just in the introduction, Dr. Mannan Mirza has said that it's not very right to talk about problems, but then still we have to talk about problems. Because talking about problems are going to bring about solutions. Then what should be my message to this very small and vibrant community in Sweden? You see, we are going in Bangladesh with many programs, but in order to solve this gigantic problem, we need knowledge development. We need new knowledge how we can manage this big malady. We need technology to support both our agriculture and healthcare areas. For that we need funding, and we need to develop alternatives to that what we are using at this moment. For you, ladies and gentlemen, my invitation will be to visit Bangladesh very frequently, to keep a track of the problems that your homeland is facing these days, and then you should engage yourselves in the problem resolution in whatever capacity you are working here. And I'm sure the day is not very far when we will be talking about solutions and not about problems alone. Thank you very much. You have been a wonderful audience.
I frequently visit Bangladesh, as you know, and main reason for my visit is the river near my village, and I swim in that river. I used to swim there 45 years ago. We went together and we went to the same school, and even then I used to see like the children swimming there today. This picture is from 2 weeks ago. I was swimming with the children of the school that we have set up there, and please, Gunnar, you take over now what we are doing in Bangladesh about technology.
Yes, you can see here. I must say, for the speech, it's fantastic. I knew the problem, but it was that magnitude. I'm really very proud, because I think it's not complicated technique. Just do it. Go there and do it in the village. It was not complicated. You see, here's the first prototype. It's an easy thing, just checking how we can warm the water to calculate how we could sterilize it. So this is the first test, and of course there's a little thing that we can scale it up, and we can develop it more. So
You feed in pesticides.
yes, so
And this is surface water.
this is surface water. We clean it by warming it from the solar energy.
So basically you heat it up to 65,
Yes.
70 degrees for
Yes.
5 minutes,
Yes.
and then you deactivate the contaminated microorganisms and you can drink it. And next is this. Yeah.
Yes, and when there's no sunshine, the rain season, we collect rain from this designing of the roof. We haven't yet tested because yes, but we haven't had rain season. Okay, but that's not so complicated. Just when you build a roof, think about that you can use it for collecting rainwater. And third, here is we have encouraged the people in the village to dig this pond to collect rainwater and also combine it so you can use the surface for fish growing. And of course, we should use that for drinking purposes. You must have sand filter to clean before we sterilize it with the help of the sun heating system.
So, thank you. Actually, what we are saying is, if the water is arsenic contaminated, as Professor Islam said, treatment of arsenic is fine, but you are not handling the filtrate. I've seen in the villages, they're just throwing it and further contaminating the surface water. So what we're saying is, we have plenty of rain, we have plenty of sunshine. We try to use that as far and as long as it is possible. We also start digging ponds to collect that rainwater, and that serves multiple purposes for growing fish as well as using that water for the rest of the season. And finally, of course, there might be a period like February, March when you have no surface water. And then, of course, you probably have to have this groundwater pumped out and filtered. So with that, we would like to encourage you to do whatever we can in small scale in your area, as we have been invited to visit Bangladesh. So visit Bangladesh, do whatever you can in a small scale. Thank you very much. If you have any question, we'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, we would be more excited to listen to the gigantic international problems and global problems related to water. Thank you very much.
Can we put some questions?
Oh,
Yes,
sure,
please.
sure.
The problem is not only with India, that is, they will investigation about the situation for our 54 rivers and canals, which is through Bangladesh.
I think we can take that question after we have Dr. Hussein's presentation,
Ah, okay.
because he will be talking more. We haven't talked anything about it.
Okay.
It's more appropriate we take that question after your presentation, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you have any question related to the arsenic contaminated disease, diseases due to water problems,
Biomedical.
technology that we have